Sir, I can't hear you if you are talking.
No, I am not.
Okay.
So far, we have covered Linux and GitHub, Maven, right?
Maven,
So
yeah.
how we are going to use these two in CI/CD pipelines? So, what is CI/CD pipelines?
Continuous integration and continuous deployment.
First of all, why do we need continuous integration, continuous deployment? Say, developers will check in their source code into the version control tools. SVM. Once they check in, so earlier it used to be a CM, configuration management or breathing units.
So I can't hear your voice properly. If you can very slow. No low.
Is it clear now?
Yeah, it is clear.
So earlier, what used to happen? The SCM guys, software configuration management team or the release team, they used to build it manually by checking out the source code from the version controls or repositories. So now the situation is different now. The number of patches or number of releases what the projects will give is really huge. So that way, if we continue to do manual things, whatever we saw, like example, you take Maven. Once the source code is modified, building manually and packaging, everything it is time-consuming process. So, but the world is in a different stage today. So, what happens as soon as the developers checks in the code to the Git? So automatically my build should happen, automatically my test should happen, unit testing. Once these two are, it's all bats, you can say basic absent testing. So once that is done, then my package should happen. Once package is done, then my deployment should happen. Delivery basically. So the continuous integration is nothing but integrating your version control tools with the automated way. Okay. And once the integration is done, then how can we deploy into the test environment or pre-production or production environment? That is where the Jenkins is useful, right? So let's talk about architecture first. How the Jenkins. Okay, assume that there is a master. Yeah. Okay, this is Jenkins master, you can say. Okay.
Yes.
So there will be different slaves. There will be two types of slaves actually. You can call it now. This one is static slaves, you can say. Static slaves, we can call it as slaves, nodes, agents. Okay. It's all. Then there will be another type of nodes, which are dynamic nodes. Basically, this is cloud. On the fly, we will we'll talk about it. How we'll okay. Here, the static nodes like what do you say? Linux. Okay, Linux or Windows. Windows nodes are different nodes which will create. But whereas the dynamic nodes, what are the different dynamic nodes? What we call it as, say, Docker. Docker, Kubernetes, right?
They are all containers.
Container can be a node also, slave also. That's what these are all dynamic, especially with the Kubernetes. This slaves or nodes will be generated or created on the fly. So that's why we call it as dynamic. Okay, Kubernetes. Okay, there are like Amazon ECS. This is also one more, but we consider only Docker, Kubernetes. Ultimately, these are slaves. That's what you can consider. Okay. This is again a slaves. That's all.
Okay.
Okay. So what are the different? Generally, how we'll maintain is there will be a jobs here. Okay. Then users. Users and plugins will be installed here. We'll talk about okay plugins. Then user management like administration. Okay. Then there will be nodes. It is. Nodes are slaves. Okay.
Yeah.
Then configuration also will be here. The global config basically. You can say. This is how it will be. So how there are actually the connecting protocols, right? So from master node, always there will be connecting protocols to your slaves. Okay.
Okay.
Right. There are different types of connecting protocols. Have you heard about any connecting protocol?
No.
So when we created a instance in AWS, we used one of the connecting protocol. Do you remember which was it? We used to connect through PuTTY.
Putty.
There was a protocol, if you remember.
Okay. SSH. Hyphen I. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the port number we call it as. But every protocol will have a port number. So similar way there is between the Jenkins master and slaves, we can use JNLP, Java Network Launch Protocol. Okay. Same. If it is a dynamic, it will be like Cloud APS. Again, JNLP is also used in to connect to the same.
Okay. Dynamic.
Yeah, dynamic. It will be like it is a Cloud API. So these are the different protocols which will be connected, and this is like actually bidirectional. It is not like only one side. The communication will happen between master and slave in a bidirectional, not only from master to slave. Okay. It will go here as well as it will come back the communications files, everything. Clear?
Yeah.
This is what in a high level. So why do we need to connect between master and slave? When the jobs are installed in the here master itself, we can run the jobs here itself, right? Why do you need slave or nodes?
That is the place where our codes will be deployed.
You can deploy in the master itself, right? This is also another server. This is also another server.
No, yes, sir.
Let's say you have 10 jobs.
Then, yeah.
Running 10 jobs in single server. How will be the performance?
It will be very low.
Very low, right?
Yeah.
And there
Yeah.
will be multiple teams who wants to use it with different jobs.
Yeah.
So it is always a load balancing and the HA, high availability.
Okay.
That is the reason the master slave concept will come to the picture. So the architecture itself is a master slave architecture.
Architecture. Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Do we have connection between static and dynamic?
Sorry.
Do we have a direct connection with the
Your voice is breaking. Actually.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Do we have a connection between the static slaves and the dynamic slaves?
Between these two?
Yeah.
Not required, right? So ultimately the communication will happen through master. So whatever we give the instructions, that will be through master. Where are our jobs? Jobs are created in the master.
Yeah.
Jenkins master. Jenkins master will communicate between these two. See, again, if you want to communicate, you should maintain this as another master, right?
Yeah.
So we can have, there is nothing wrong in that. Sometimes it may depend, but what is the use? If we have the real-time scenario where we can communicate, where we need to communicate between this, forget about now, don't get confused. Just for this purpose I told, consider this is completely a slave. Okay. So complete this one is just slaves or nodes. Okay. Consider for you, this is there is a slave and master. The communication will happen through this type of protocols.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say we'll talk about few scenarios. Did you understand the architecture? How just the major what do you say, users, jobs, plugins, credentials,
Yes.
and configurations are all will be in the master server, master node, we can say. So actual jobs will be executed in the slaves, which will be distributed based on the requirement. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say you have job one. Okay.
Okay.
And which is running or executing in slave one.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this here, slave one, slave two, slave three, you can say example. Just new one. So this is your master. We have slave one, slave two, slave three, slave four. Forget about what type of slave it is. Just for understanding, I told.
Okay.
Okay. So the job is configured in master,
Mm.
right? This is master, right? This is S1,
Yeah. Mm.
S2, S3, S4, slave 1, slave 2, slave 3, slave 4. Okay. So the communication will happen in bidirectional.
Yes.
This way. Right? The communication happens like this.
Yeah.
Now, your job 1 is running on slave 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say your job 2 is running on S2.
Okay.
Okay. So now how the master will assign these jobs, whether you go to slave 1 or slave 2. Master will assign something, right? Why
Yes.
I have four slaves? It can assign for anyone, right? S1 or
Yeah.
S2. So why it should assign for slave 1? Why job 2 is assigned to slave? Where is the high availability will come into the picture now? Again, it is just one server, right? Which will be running.
Yeah.
So that's where the concept of labels will come into the picture. Label 1. Let's say in label 1, we have S1, S2, S3. Label is nothing but grouping, that's all.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. In label 2, we have S4, S5, and S6. Okay.
Okay. Group.
Right. Let's say my another job 3 is running on L1, label 1.
Level 1. Okay.
Okay. And
Yes.
my job 4 is running on some.
Two.
So how can we decide whether L1 or L2? My L1 has 3 slaves.
Yeah.
Let's say my job 3, assume job 3 is assigned to L3. Now which slave in which slave it will execute?
Yeah. Job
I
3
have
is in
3,
the S3.
S1, S2, S3.
Okay.
My
Yes.
job 3 is assigned to label, not for the slave. So which
Okay.
slave will in which slave it will execute?
To avoid a conflict, it will go into the S3.
That is good answer. Actually, yeah, one way it is right. Another one, it is not conflict actually. We're talking about load balancing, right?
Load balancing. Yeah.
So S1 and S2 are already busy with job 1 and job 2.
Job 1, job 2.
So which is free now?
S3.
S3, right?
Yes.
So generally how it will be assigned is whichever is free, it will be assigned to that S3.
Oh.
Now, how can we segregate this? Why my S1 is in label 1 and S4 is label 2? I can move S4 also in label 1, right? So this is the important thing while grouping it. Assume that my S1, S2, everything has Git as a version control tool, and Maven is my build tool. Let's say this one, and my Windows is Linux.
Yes.
Here I have SVN,
Okay.
SVN,
And
and Ant, and Windows.
Windows.
Now I have to decide the label based on my job requirement,
Okay.
right? Let's say I am running a Java project.
Yeah.
Let's say I'll go to file, job file, which is a Java project, and I will assign to
Level 1.
L2. Will it work?
No.
Why?
Which for a Java, which is needed a Maven for assembly too.
Exactly. So this is the criteria how we will group the slaves
Okay.
into groups, labels,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So how it happens is, how it works is,
Mm.
see, as a DevOps engineer or the team, right? We know what are the requirements, prerequisites to execute a project, whether
Okay.
it is Java, whether it is a C or C++ or Python, and we need the equivalent compilers or build tools.
Build tools.
So
Yeah.
all these things are the prerequisites for the slaves.
Yes.
Then only your CI, or you can call it as CI, this one, right? So your continuous integration can be attached to that particular label, whichever is going to satisfy our requirement. Or other way also, based on our requirement, we are going to create slaves and assign it to a group or label. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Let's say my one of the slave is offline.
Okay.
My S2 is offline.
Okay.
Now what happens if I run the job, which is assigned job 2 or job 6, you can say. Job 6 is assigned to my slave 2, but it is offline. What happens?
It doesn't work, sir, because it is connected to a master, which needs a connection.
Right. But we have already established a connection. After establishing connection, for some reason, it went down. Your job will, if it is an active state, your slaves are active, then it will go to immediately a state called running.
Yeah.
Or running. Okay.
Okay.
It will run. If it is offline, then it will be on, it will be in waiting. Waiting for the slave.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is how it will work. 1 second.
Yes, sir, sure.
Yeah. So that's how the distribution will happen. Let's say we have one more. We have one more job 7. Okay. So can we run this job 7 in the master itself?
Job 7. Yeah, sir.
We can run the jobs in the master itself. There is no restriction.
Yeah.
So sometimes actually what happens, the jobs will be configured in the master and it will be executed in the master itself.
Master itself. When, in which situation it will be like that?
See, for some projects, for few projects, what happens, there will not be a dependency of, let's say, small projects are there.
Okay.
We really don't have a multi, or to say, a factor requirement. See what happens, some jobs, let's say one of the project example, I'm just giving an example. It has a dependency of Linux. It has a dependency of Windows. It has a dependency within the Linux Ubuntu flavor, some other flavor.
Okay.
If I have all these requirements, then it makes sense to go with the different slaves. right? I cannot do everything in one slave and
Mm.
wasting my time waiting for one after the other.
Yeah.
Instead of that, I can distribute all my work into different slaves. My things will happen in parallel. So
Yes.
I'll save total turnaround time as well. But in few cases, I don't need really all these different flavors of Linux or the operating systems. I have only single job, very small job. So
Okay.
I can use the master itself, both master and slave, both as a platform.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
So these are the different kind of scenarios which we may come across, and the architecture will be like this: communication between these two. When you install it, you will come to know exactly. Okay.
Okay.
So there is, we were talking about, okay, now we'll talk about plugins.
Okay.
We saw the plugins in Maven, right?
Plugins. Yeah, sir.
So what is the use of plugin?
These are all the different types.
So basically what happens in the Jenkins, these are all kind of external utilities or the softwares. External goals, you can say. Just you can correlate with that Maven. That's why I'm saying the goals. Okay. What was the goal?
Which are comes in the life cycle.
Like build is on, sorry, within the build you have compile is on goal.
Yeah.
Clean is one goal.
Yeah.
Right? Packaging is one goal. So ultimately some action is happening there, right?
Yes.
So here, when it comes to Jenkins, the external goals which we can integrate into the Jenkins.
Integrate. Okay.
Okay. Example, let's say if I give the MVN build in Git in Jenkins, how will the Jenkins will understand?
No.
It cannot, right? Since we have installed, configured everything in my local laptop, when I give the MVN version or MVN compile, it can understand, it will can read from the environment or path variables and it will execute it. But Jenkins is itself is separate another application. That's all, right?
Yes, sir.
So that's where we need to install the external plugins or integrate into the Jenkins and configure it to use it those external.
Okay.
That is the advantage. See, your Git is one external plugin.
Okay.
One plugin you can say, right? Maven is another plugin. Ant is another plugin. Likewise, there are n number of plugins.
Okay.
It's all the Jenkins is just kind of, let's say you have Amazon.
Yeah.
Right? Is Amazon really doing the job, or just different vendors are attached to it? Whenever some customer is requesting some product, just it will link it to the vendor and it will get delivered, right? Similar way here also.
Okay.
The Jenkins will kind of one what is a hub where you can integrate the different plugins based on the requirement. Okay. Any doubts so far? The architecture or the scenarios or the plugins clear?
Yeah. So when we make a slave offline now, some particular group, it doesn't affect to another slaves, right?
No. These are all independent slaves. You'll just label it. That's all. See, when you install a slave, when you configure a slave, that is an independent slave.
Okay.
Just to give the high availability feature, we will attach these slaves to a label. Okay. So when you are creating a job, you have an option to select direct slave or a label. What happens when you select a slave? If it is offline, it is impacted.
Okay.
It will continue to wait until the slave becomes online. Okay. But whereas if you assign it to a label and while configuring or creating a job, configure it to a label. What happens if S2 is offline? It will look for other slaves, which is available online.
Online. Okay. Okay.
So that's how you will make sure the high availability.
Yeah.
Right. See,
Yes.
take again the Google or your Gmail or Amazon or Netflix or whatever it is. If they goes down like this, wherever it is configured, your streaming will be a problem, right?
Yes.
Same way, if you configure it in a high availability,
Okay.
if S2 is offline, automatically it will switch to S3.
S3. Yeah.
So it will not impact for you as an end user.
Okay. Okay.
Second, there will be impact. Again, we'll come to the Kubernetes. When you talk about Kubernetes, there is something called pods. Okay. If container goes down, the pod will take care of creating another container immediately.
Okay.
That way. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
We'll talk about that, how the actual your the latest applications are working.
Okay.
How Kubernetes, how it is helping in HA cluster, basically. Okay.
Yes.
If it is clear, then we'll move on to the installation.
Yeah, it's clear.
So there are multiple ways to install the Jenkins. One is like using your WAR file.
Okay.
What is WAR?
These are the web files.
No. What
Package.
is jar? Oh yeah, package. So WAR. So to execute any WAR file, so we need a web server.
Web server.
So one of the web server is Tomcat, right?
Yeah.
The other way we can install is for Linux. If you are using Linux, yum install. Using yum. If you remember, we used yum, right?
Yum, yeah, sir.
As part of Linux.
Yes, yes.
Let's say yum install Jenkins.
Jenkins.
Right?
Yes.
Then the third option you can use is now directly exe you can execute. Okay.
Okay.
There will be a Jenkins.exe which can be used. Again, this is for Windows.
Okay.
The yum install is for Linux servers.
Linux server. Yeah.
Right. And another option is using Java also you can execute it.
Okay.
Let's say how Jenkins.war file.
Yeah.
So one option is deploy the Jenkins.war file into the one of the web server.
Okay.
Let's say Tomcat, and run it as a service. That is one option.
Okay.
Then another option is you can use Java, Java-jar and Jenkins.war. So what happens? The disadvantage of this is your window should be open.
Okay.
If you close the window, the service will be stopped.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then other options are like your what you say, containerization, Dockers.
Okay.
Docker images. These are the different ways we can install it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what do we have in the architecture? We have master and slave, right?
Yes.
So what is required in master and what is required in slave?
In slave, we required this. Are you asking about the plugins required?
No, generally, if you understand the master slave concept,
yeah.
So what is the role of master mainly, and what is the role of slave?
Okay. So master is the like where it decides the jobs to go into the slaves.
Right.
Yeah, and slaves where it have to work on that and deploy it back to the master.
Yeah. So if you remember yesterday we were talking about what the lifecycle manager.
Lifecycle manager.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, which
Similarly, like, yeah. So in general, the master, the prerequisite is again the JDK.
Okay.
Okay. JDK is required as a prerequisite.
Okay.
Then Tomcat is required. I mean, if you want to deploy as a web service, sorry, web server. Okay. Now we have different options. Actually, when we started our career, maybe some time back, it used to called Hudson.
Okay.
So Tomcat was the option for the deployment or to run the Jenkins.
Okay.
So we used to deploy the WAR file into the Tomcat service and run it as a use it for the Jenkins.
Okay.
Is that WAR file? Okay. So this is required in the master. And what is required for the slave? So JDK, anyhow, it is required. So what exactly, if you see, why just now we discussed a few scenarios, right? What will be the use of slave?
Will be like load balancing.
Load balancing, right?
Yeah.
For that, if you want to execute your project,
Mm.
what is required? Let's say Java project you want to build and
Yeah.
package. What is required? Maven, right? So you need to install the respective tools.
Okay.
Maven and Git, like this. If you remember here, we're talking about, let's say few slaves will have Git, Maven, Linux, SVN, and Windows. These are the tools, right? So based on the requirement, you may have to see. In my slave 1, slave 2, slave 3, I don't need SVN because my purpose is different. So if I install only Git, that is enough.
Okay.
So that way we can decide based on the project requirement.
Yes.
What are the tools required for this? Okay. So just install Jenkins. If you try, you will get options. Jenkins download and deployment.
Okay.
Right. See, I was talking about even Docker we have here. It is available as a image also. There are so many now actually. Earlier there were only few. This is what I was talking about. Dynamic.
And dynamic. Okay.
Dynamics. So it is available. Right.
Yes.
So now we'll go to the different versions. Still aside for, let's say, Windows. This is the exe which is generating here.
Okay.
You can see here MSI. This .exe which we can use as executable. The advantage of using executable is it will only create a separate service. Okay. So when you install, no, I don't know whether I have Jenkins. So this is the command to check in Windows, services.msc.
Okay.
Services, go to a run command and search with services.msc. Okay.
Flash is not.
Yeah, MSc. So this is the services related.
Okay.
So here it will be added as a service here. Okay, this is one option. And the other option is if you are already running as a any web server, like Tomcat. So the structure will be like there will be a web apps folder. Inside that, if you just copy that and restart the service of Tomcat, so it will deploy and your service will be available for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's say we are talking about var file, right?
Yes.
Download Jenkins var file. Here. If you see here, this can be one of the interview question also. So generally they might ask which version of Jenkins you are using. So the latest is 2.368.
Okay.
So let's say if they might ask another way also. So if you say I have 3 years of experience or 4 years of experience, then what was the version you started working with Jenkins?
Okay.
That way they might ask. You see here different versions with the year you will find here. Let's say now 2022, 3 years back, maybe 2019 or 20. What was the version? 2.2, 200 you can say, or something like that. Right?
Yes.
And they might ask another question saying that what are the major changes you have observed between the previous versions and latest versions?
Yeah.
Right? More plugins, more GUI based advantages. But when we started, it was 1.6 or 6, I think. 1.6 or 7, or yeah, somewhere around 1.6.
Okay.
And we started using Jenkins. Before that, we used to use Hudson actually. 2000, for 2010, 10. Before that, it was Hudson.
Okay.
I mean, it is same company. The Hudson became Jenkins. So, okay. So here it will clearly say year-wise, version-wise, just to keep an idea, right? And now you can say 2 point whatever it is available, right? Let's say if you want to download this latest package, just download it. The WAR file will be downloaded. Okay. This is one way of installing your Jenkins. So if you remember how to install package in Linux, we have done. If you remember, which was the service we tried, HTTPD something we tried, right?
Yes. Can we install the package?
Correct. Install the package name. Package name. How to start a service, if you remember? There were 2 options.
Yes, sir.
One is service start, another one is system
Yes.
CTL.
Yeah.
Start. Let's say stop or restart.
Yes.
The service name. Correct. This is how we can install, or you can Google it, you'll get it that also. Install. What do you say? Jenkins on CentOS or whichever it is. Right? Example. Linux, you should get it here. Here you have the flavors. Red Hat, CentOS or whichever it is. I want to install Red Hat. I think they give here. You can see that.
Okay.
If you remember, wget is one of the option. What is the difference between minstall and wget? Wget will download the package to local. Then you need to extract and use it using RPM. If you remember RPM, there are 2 installation options, right? One is another one is RPM.
RPM. Yeah.
Right? This is the reason I was telling The Linux, that part of, we are going to use more in the Jenkins,
Jenkins. Okay.
right?
Yes.
This is how you can, once you use another things, yum install, whatever it is. The Java is as a prerequisite, right? So you need to install Java, then install yum, then start this systemctl, reload. Daemon reload will enable it. By default, it will be in disable mode, so it will enable it. Okay.
Yes.
So, okay, we will, we have downloaded it, right? We need. Do you want me to show the? So basically, what I wanted to do is AWS and launch an instance. You can take RHEL instance or anyone. Then try to install these things. I think you have created your AWS account, right?
Yes, sir. I created.
And if you remember how to create an EC2 instance,
Yes, sir.
try to create an EC2 instance.
Okay.
And try one of those methods.
Okay.
Or if you want to try in your local laptop, you can try just installing that.
Okay. Sir, I can try installing Jenkins on the Git bash as well, right? But I need to connect the EC2 instance.
Why Git bash is coming here?
We
You
are
can use your command line, normal command line.
normal command. Okay.
Yeah. So, but better practice in AWS. If you want to try it out for the Linux environment. For Windows, you can try in your laptop. So download this
Yeah.
var or MSI.
Okay.
Just install it and let me install it. It will just install. See,
Okay.
you can select where do you want to
Okay.
have the Java. Let's say I don't want in program files. Again, better try to avoid the spaces here. So that this is the question it will ask, whether you want run as a service local system admin or a specific domain account. Since we have our local, I don't have a domain account. Domain account is nothing but it will be the binding will be there for the domain for corporate level. Let's say what do you say, US based, India based, the regions will be there, right?
Yeah.
So region wise, I think you must be having your domain account, right, in your company.
Yes.
Your domain name followed by your username will be there.
Yes.
So that's what, if you have domain account, use that. Otherwise, run it as a local system. And what port you want? Test the port first. 8080 is available. Just go for it. Which is my Java.
On JDK.
Remember, by default it will search. If not, you select the path where you have installed your JDK.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Valid directory. Why? This is my. You see here. This is the problem. Fail to find the compatibility Java version 11 or 17.
17.
So it is looking for the latest version of Java. Two options now. You downgrade your Jenkins or upgrade your Java.
Okay.
So let us download our standard. Download Java or JDK 11 for Windows. Okay. We have, where is the Windows file? JDK installer. I think it will ask for the username. I forgot. Second, just
Yeah.
will install. Okay, my JDK is being downloaded. So once JDK is downloaded, you can install the JDK. You can have multiple Java versions actually.
Okay.
Let's say what versions we have right now. C drive. So go to Java. Inside Java, I can maintain a number of Java versions. So based on my requirement, I can set the path.
Yes.
See, my JDK is downloaded. Let us install it. Whatever. Yes. Here you need to change your okay. Let my I just need to download this. Let it go here. Okay. See, I remove that spaces, putting into the same location. Here. See, I got my JDK. So now, where are we here? Change it. Go back, and select my. So now it has selected because this is what I was talking about, the compatibility.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So now completed the Jenkins setup. Finish. Now how can we? So this is how we can install. We'll talk about the port, how to access the external thing. So similar way, you can launch an EC2 instance and use this option.
Okay.
Create an EC2 instance.
Okay.
We don't. There is another option is like if you see Jenkins.var, similar way you can have the GZ files, which is nothing but a zip file. You can download that. If you remember, what is the option to transfer a file from Windows to EC2 instance or Linux? We used another tool called WinSCP.
WinSCP, yeah.
Right. So using that, you can transfer your zip file to Linux instance and extract it.
Okay.
That is another way of installing. Okay, you can try it out. Try to create a Red Hat system, and can give name, some name. And if you remember, right?
Yes,
Key
sir.
to,
This website.
yeah. And if you have a key already, use that key. If not,
Mm.
we have so many keys. So if not, you can create a new key pair
You prepare.
and
Yeah.
try to install your Jenkins.
Okay.
Okay, we'll
Yes.
try the
Mm.
how to access the Jenkins and how to create the slaves, all those things in tomorrow's session.
Okay.
Huh?
Okay.
We'll try
Yeah.
to create that the what architecture, whatever we discussed, a master and slave. We'll try to create 2 instances and try to configure them.
Okay. Okay. Yes,
Okay,
sir.
Mansi. If you have any doubt, you can ask me.
No, sir.
Okay, this is how you can install. For Windows, you can try. Now my Jenkins is installed actually. Earlier there was no Jenkins, right? If you
Yes.
refresh,
Mm.
there will be a Jenkins service now.
Okay.
Can you see this?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is running also already.
Mm.
So how to access that? By default,
Mm.
it will be http
Mm.
colon
Mm.
localhost. What was the port we gave?
Um,
As part of installation,
yeah.
we have selected some port.
We selected Java
8080 port.
8080. Okay. Okay. Got it.
This is how you can access actually. We have to do a few configurations again there. So we'll try those things.
Okay.
Okay. So we'll try directly on the EC2 instance. If one of the scenario, maybe I can explain in what do you say, Windows. First time, right? It will take, because the configuration will take some time.
Sometime. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So the password will be here. Just copy paste that. Your password will be launched actually.
Okay.
Okay. Could be there.
Sure.
See program data. Can you see the program data? It's not there, right? It will be hidden. Okay. Here, initial admin password. This is the password. Only one time you need to give this. After that, it will not ask any. So this is your, we're talking about plugins, right? Whether you
Yes.
want to select a specific plugin or go with the default suggested plugins. There will be minimal things which are required or commonly used plugins, right?
Yeah.
So if you select that, it will start installing all those plugins. These are the plugins. There will be so n number of plugins. We'll talk about that.
Okay.
But you try installing it in our one of the EC2 instance on our Windows, whichever is.
Okay. Sure.
Okay, then. We'll see you on Monday. And we may have to start on weekends also in parallel, like AWS. Otherwise, it might take some time.
Okay.
So we'll see. Next week we'll continue with the Jenkins, because Jenkins will take some time. We are
Okay.
taking sessions
Okay.
to
Okay.
cover
Sir.
all the scenarios. To save that time, we may have to do at least one Saturday 2 hours, so that we can start to complete AWS or some other course. I mean, which is required in parallel.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
We'll plan that.
Yes. No problem. We can.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.